Hello, my name is Elizabeth Fake, and I am with General Dynamics Information Technology Intelligence Solutions Division. And to give you full and fair disclosure, today, in order to be able to present at this conference, we had to have our slides approved by not only our executive leadership and the security department, but also the export compliance department as well. So our slides are intentionally spare. But we can, I understand that I can answer questions and talk to what we have. So feel free to chime in as you can. I'd like to introduce our team. First of all, we have Sandy Ferranti, who is our manager, and she is our corporate champion. She goes to the executive suite and fights for the licenses. And if anyone is having trouble or needs some strategies, ask Sandy, because she knows what she's doing. We also have Lisa Weeks, who is our analyst, and she's gaining more and more confidence and strategy in being able to employ all the tools. And we also have Justin Bakshi, who is our wonder kid. He is our rock star, our millennial who really thinks out of the box and who has one of the nicest, most innovative use cases that I've seen in a long time. I think all of you will be very impressed with what he has to say. To begin talking about our use cases, I'd like to say we came to this conference a year ago. None of us were VisibleThread users, and we left having had a eureka moment. I felt like I was going to go home and create an organization just like Kevin's, 24 people, 15 countries, 7 languages. You know, that was what I was going to do. We get back to home plate, and when you have a well-run organization, they don't know that they have any problems. And Sandy, of course, had created this wonderful, well-oiled machine for producing a proposal on a 30-day turn. So getting into their workflow was a challenge for us. And we spent a lot of time knocking on doors, getting no answer. And then it occurred to me, I've got to find some blood on the floor. I've got to find someone who's in trouble. And that's where we will get our process integrated with theirs. And we did find a woman who had a pop-up proposal, not a task order, but a proposal that had a 20-day turn. And we came to her rescue, offered her a few compliance checks that made a big difference. And I think she might have gotten 15 minutes more sleep as a result of that. But at any rate, she offered to let us enter her workflow for a much larger proposal that was going to come out in the spring. And so we have been working with her on a pilot basis. We are far beyond, we were far less developed as Kevin's application, but we just want to show you, as many of you are new and will be getting into this yourselves, what some of the things we have thought of and are doing. This shows where we are now using VisibleThread. We use it for bid, no bid. We use it, of course, to create a compliance matrix. We have identify past performance as one. We have compliance and quality checks. We have win theme hot button checks. And we also have plain language reports. And I'm going to start with plain language reports. I have no slide. I'm just going to tell you some anecdotal data. You've already heard the story about the man who had a 5, and we increased his score to a 15. But if you're having any problems getting VisibleThread into your organization as an acceptance point, think about starting with the clear language, because everyone basically loves it. It's a real hit. And now to show you some of the other use cases. And we thought that these were maybe unique and demonstrated the way you kind of have to think out of the box in terms of using this tool. The first one is past performance, finding archived content to reuse. The second is resumes, compliance is everything. And the third is graphics, no errors allowed. So under identifying past performance is a very complex issue. In our case, we have to have customer approval of any past performance reference we use. And what this means is we have to send it out for them to look at. It can take anywhere, best case 2 weeks, worst case 4 to 8 weeks. So you pretty much have to have your past performance written even before the RFP comes out. And we also deal with management who thinks that past performance should be boilerplate. And any of you have written, I see somebody laughing. Lots of nodding head. That some of it can be the who, what, where, when can be boilerplate, but the why and the how is highly individualized. And management would like for you to be efficient. They would like for you to get this done in 10 hours or whatever. So if you can reuse any of your past content, that's a very good way to be. We are very lucky in that we have quite a large archive of past performance documents. However, to go through all of these documents is very labor intensive. And so that's why we decided we would give VisibleThread a try to see how it would work on compiling some past performance data. And so the first thing that we do is we identify some citations from our archive that we think would be good candidates. And this probably minimizes the number of documents you're going to look at from maybe 20 or 30 to 12 or 12 to 14. And then we compile a past performance dictionary using terms from the template that sometimes the customer gives you or from Section L and Section M. And then we upload the dictionary under quality reports, and we upload the citations, the archive documents as well. And the first thing that we do is we run our documents against discovery. And this kind of gives us an idea of which documents are going to have more than other documents. So then this closes the 12 to 14 documents to maybe 6, which is very helpful. And then we run our dictionary against those documents to see which ones are going to have exactly the terms. Are you asking a question?
What does that provide you when you run the citations against the discovery? Do you come up with a list of words
right.
or a percentage?
And it gives you a display because you see we've run it against the whole folder.
A display on the user interface?
Right. And so since we ran it against the whole folder of the documents, it says this document has 4 mentions of project management. This document has no mentions of project management. So it helps us filter the field. Yes?
So you're running it against your whole past performance?
Well, against the ones that we have uploaded. And there's a lot of filtering and selectivity that goes into that process. We know the old ones we're not going to use. So we eliminate those from the beginning.
But you do a subjective process of which ones to pick to run this through?
Yes. That's the manual step. We haven't automated that yet. I'm sure we could, but we just haven't done it yet.
That can help you fix them.
Yes, and so you've now given us a new strategy on working with this. So after we've done the discovery and picked out the 6 to 8 or whatever, then we run them against the quality dictionary to find citations on specific topics.
Who on your proposal team does step A?
Anyone who's working on those boilerplate parts of the proposal.
I mean, you would need someone with a technical understanding to take a look at Sal and the RFPs to identify.
If I could,
Yes, Sandy's going
if I
to.
could answer that. A lot of our operations people, our program managers, if we're bidding something, they sort of know which one of their programs are close to what we're doing. So they would help us to call that down to begin with instead of running against everything we've ever done.
We experimented with a kind of a knowledge management application to do that, but it really is not ready to present. And we'll continue to work on that to see if we can't automate that step a little better than we have. But that's definitely underway, yes.
Are your archives in a SharePoint
They are.
environment, or is it in a big directory?
It's well, actually, the archives is in a proposals department only workspace. So only people who are in the proposals department have access to that archive.
It was more of a question of can it search through all the various pages within the SharePoint directory as opposed to Z Drive, which is just kind of like
Well, we have them organized.
files in some folders.
Right, we have them organized by opportunity, by their name,
By the contract.
by the contract.
And those have all been developed from proposals over the years. So when we finish a proposal, we pull all those citations out, file them under the contract name, so they're all together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
do
could
the same
not
thing,
get-
but I do it inside of SharePoint, and that sometimes creates its own barrier to searching.
So then you select the ones you want to use and you put them in Visible.
Right, I upload them, I upload the file.
And my question was, do you put your entire past performance directory in VisibleThread and
You
keep
know-
it there? That
I've done that. I deleted it. And now I only do it opportunity by opportunity. Oh, I've had a wonderful time playing with this tool. And you do have to look at it as playing with it. So once we export the dictionary search to an Excel sheet, we then can copy and paste from Excel into a Word document template. And I say, well begun is half done. And I'll show you a picture. This is, the discovery terms are up there in the left-hand corner, and our dictionary results are over here. You export it into Excel, and you can see this shows us some content that we could reuse. Now, on compliance and quality checks, one of the areas of compliance that has to be 100% is a resume. And I'm sorry that Nick Stegaitis is not here to present this because that was going to be his part of the program. Nick is a VisibleThread subject matter expert, and he came to us with expert status. So we kind of benefited tremendously because Nick has developed the Zen of VisibleThread. And he looks at every task that we undertake with the idea, can VisibleThread help us with this? And I think eventually we all grow to that point, but he was there to begin. So I'm sorry that he's not here to share his wisdom. The one thing that Nick had been with a small company, and in small companies you have to do a lot more than you can in a bigger company where your tasks are more specialized. And his experience with resumes was that he would download them from Monster or Indeed or whatever, and then he would filter them to find the ones that he thought would work for the proposal, and then move from there to actually write a resume, and then to do a compliance check on that resume with the requirements from the proposal. So that was a lot more than we do, because normally we have our HR department give us the resumes that they want us to use, which they've already pre-qualified in a number of ways. But you still have to write the resume to correspond to the RFP that you're writing to. And you want to make sure you are entirely compliant. So what Nick does is he creates a quality dictionary from the RFP, and then he uploads the quality dictionary. He creates a resume folder, which he puts all of our finished produced resumes in, and then he runs the resume documents against the quality dictionary for position, and he creates quality reports to show where there is non-compliance. And then we can send those resumes back to the author with the report saying, you didn't hit this, you didn't hit that, you really need to beef up the resume on this particular item so that we do have 100% compliance. So on the left side you see the quality dictionary, and on the right side you see the compliance. And our standard is 100%. And without VisibleThread, I don't know that we could quite achieve this standard. Now, Justin. Justin came up with a use case that I think is truly unique. and he's going to share that with you now.
So I'm a big fan of playing with VisibleThread. First of all, you guys have seen Back to the Future, right? I'm assuming a lot of you. Today. Yeah, today. So we didn't get hoverboards, but we did get VisibleThread. I'm very happy. Excited about this.
Oh, we're going to get those shoelaces.
I don't have laces, so I don't know how many people in here do. So I ran into a problem, and that's the first time I used VisibleThread. I've had it for a month, and until I hit a problem, I didn't use VisibleThread. And it really came in handy with the UK to English dictionary, which I got from you yesterday, which will really benefit me in the future. So graphics, we had to change the English in the graphics. And I was told, you couldn't put a graphic in because you can't change the letters in it. So I converted my PDF graphics. So I had my Photoshop graphics into a PDF, and then I OCR'd them. So I created a quality dictionary for the words I was looking for. I also put each of my graphics has a slug number at the bottom. That way you can track them. Technically, if we're not using a graphic anymore, graphic number 5 is not going to be on page 5. It's going to be on page 4 or something. So I tracked the slug numbers as well. So I OCR'd them, but I ran into a lot of problems with OCR. It has to be searchable image exact. There are other ways to OCR it, but if it's a searchable image exact, it'll get the most, you'll get basically everything out of it. I ran them through VisibleThread, and I was able to do a few things with this. So I selected the correct dictionary. There we go. There we go. And I picked the files I wanted. I combined all the graphics in the PDFs into one document. I ran it through VisibleThread with the words. I found everywhere where the words were spelled wrong, organization with an S or a Z, and I went back in. And I changed them. I had them all changed through graphics. It took, I would say, an hour for me to do, tops. Whereas I would have had the writers go back through their own work. They'd have missed half the words and come back with another graphic change, and graphics would have yelled at me. At least twice. They're not very nice. So here's where we show, unfortunately it's a little small. It looks good here, but where organization is misspelled. It's spelled with a Z where it should be an S. And it's at the bottom as well. Organization with a Z, not an S. And I went through each one. I gave graphics a list. They went in and they changed the words one by one. Took them no time at all. They knew where everything was. It showed exactly where they were. You have a question on that?
Did you get, so the graphics were in AI, in an Illustrator?
They were in Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Then I converted them to a PDF.
And then it was searchable.
You have to OCR it in Adobe first. So if you go to tools, you go to recognize text in the tools, and you have to do searchable image exact. And it will make the PDF editable, the letters in it editable. And that allowed me to put it through VisibleThread and allowed VisibleThread to catch words.
Just one quick clarification. So VisibleThread will analyze PDFs, Word docs, Excel spreadsheets, but it does not analyze the images. So the use case that Justin is talking about effectively is overcoming that issue in this specific situation. So what you're doing is you're extracting all the text from the images, putting it into one document, uploading that document, cross-referencing it with a dictionary. And by the way, Discovery would have probably isolated that as well, I suspect. And you see, because it's alphabetized, you see where organization would be with a Z and an S. So,
and it pulls it out, in a Excel spreadsheet and everything, where I can see exactly where each one is. It'll tell me the line where it is. It'll tell me, basically locate everything for me. I send it over to graphics, and it went through pretty quickly.
Did you run the entire PDF file,
yes,
including the graphics, through the OCR reader?
No,
or you just took each of the graphics themselves?
Yeah, we have graphics in a separate file. When I converted them, then I combined all the PDFs into one file.
Okay.
How many were they?
For this particular, actually, he said a case earlier where it took me 14 hours to do something. That was me. I had to make an acronym list, and this was a palette-sized proposal in the beginning. So he had about 250 graphics at this time, and since then it's grown. But I mean, to go through that many graphics without VisibleThread would have been time-consuming, expensive, and just very, very annoying. I would have cried, yes.
You're showing that it shows line 21 has a mistake. So how do you figure out what graphic that is? Because I don't see where
The
you
way
have
I did
slug
that was
number.
on earlier, my graphics have slug numbers.
Right.
So technically graphic 21 wouldn't be on page 21. If I'm not using graphic 20, it'd be on page 20. So I put the slug number at the beginning of it, and I put match the beginning case. Is that correct? Where you put an asterisk, and it'll only pick up the beginning of the slug number. That way, another thing it looks for is the slug number. It'll be
It handles it like a heading?
exactly. Well,
So
I'll let you answer that.
the way it's matching. So what was the term you matched?
So it was the beginning of the proposal name, where it's at the bottom of each graphic with a number.
So
I just didn't see it on your
there.
here.
Yeah, this is an old one. It would come
It's
with
very
the
difficult to
words.
see that, isn't it? So, sorry, my apologies. So basically, what you can do in dictionaries is you could say, yes, I want a literal match against X, Y, Z. But then you could also say, in this case, let's say the proposal was called ABC. You could say ABC star, and it'll match everything beginning with that. So at the bottom of each graphic, it sounds like you have the proposal. It just varied on the name.
I had the proposal and then the
Picked up
number.
exactly where the occurrence was based on the star and the Y card.
So it was a piece of the proposal and an underscore at the bottom of each graphic, which we already have. It's part of the slug number that we slug our graphic. Where it comes up with organization here on the left, it'll also have the slug number of the graphic next to it. So it'll show you all of the words in it and the slug number that the graphic has additional. So, but you'd have to also, I made a dictionary for that where he told me I could just use the first few letters, so be careful about it. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to be clear that when your graphic's actually in your final proposal, and you run your final proposal through VisibleThread, it's not searching the graphic.
It will not search. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
How much
Yeah.
you convert your whole proposal to a PDF and make it searchable?
Yes.
To define the embedded
That would
graphic,
work. Yeah, you'd have to convert to a PDF and OCR with OCR exact. What I would most likely do though is when the graphics are finalized, I would just, because we're already converting them into a JPEG, just do a PDF as well and combine them. It's like, yeah, exactly. So that's what I did. And by putting the slug number in, that was a great question, by the way, about the slug number. It will give me the words that were wrong in the graphic and tell me which graphic it is and tell me a line of where it is in the graphic. That way I'm not looking all over the thing. I mean, some of them are ridiculous on 11 by 17 paper. So here's the situation. The word is misspelled. It should be an S. We were using the UK English dictionary, and it was a mess up. Nobody caught it. VisibleThread caught it. So I think misspelled is misspelled. But no, I'm kidding. That was for me. Any other questions, guys? Anything else? No? Okay. Elizabeth, do you have anything else? No?
we're just on time.
We are. So if there are no other questions, there is a question?
I seem to have a lot of questions today. I guess I'm a really interested buyer. There was mentions about, okay, so you have to, like, you guys are using SharePoint, you're having to download your files and then upload them. I'm wondering about your web searching tool, the other tool. Could it be applied to a SharePoint site instead? So let's say I had a past performance library on SharePoint. Could I just search that instead?
If the SharePoint site is authenticated, the answer is no.
Is
No.
no all SharePoint sites are authenticated?
So any site that's authenticated, in other words, it requires credentials to get in.
Okay.
Today, we cannot scan that.
Okay.
It has to be in the public domain.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
But we'd be interested in talking, as ever, we are a product company, so that's on our roadmap. And it's something that we're discussing internally. We haven't prioritized it. But that's the and more features bit that we talked about earlier. That kind of feature. Could I ask the GD guys, GDIT, excuse me, acronym heavy, roughly what's the proportion of saving you're seeing? So we've heard 14 hours to what, a half hour?
Oh yeah, easily a half hour.
Any other statistics? I know it's evolving, but
It's just a,
It's
I'd
been
say
really
50%.
We're keeping
Yeah.
track, and right now, 40%
and 40% on what?
on past performance.
So 40% on past performance.
The acronym list like almost 100 times. The one
That
that showed
was-
us yesterday in 2.12
We said 14 hours to
Yes,
40 minutes.
Okay. So I'm not about this. I'm just more curious than anything else because we're trying to build an argument for why you should really be using this and why it makes sense. So that's the time saving target. But you just heard a quality argument there around organization with a Z versus an S.